I recently saw on Mr. Snooze's channel that he did a feature on the Blue Pullman. I have a number of Blue Pullmans. As far as I'm aware, Hornby made at least, or say Triang and Hornby, made at least 4 versions of the Blue Pullman with a number of other iterations in between. So I thought it might be fun to look at some of the Blue Pullmans. So where do we start with the Blue Pullman? I went to Pat Hammond's books, and the DMU Pullman arrived in August 1963, and such was the success that the orders for center cars exceeded production. So they produced nearly 16,000 sets in 1964, an additional 7,800 solo parlor cars. So there were more parlor cars than any other coach that year. Now, I don't have an original Triang Blue Pullman. This is the earliest one I have. This one is the Triang Hornby Pullman, so it would have been a few years after the 1963-64 introduction. Let's just zoom out a little and see if we can see the box here. As you can see, it says Triang Hornby electric train set on the top, and this box is a little the worse for wear. But it says includes diesel Pullman motor car, parlor car, non-powered motor car, fully fitted with seats, tables, and lamp standards, tension lock couplings. There they are. And of course, not only did we get the set, we also got some track. Now in here I noticed that there actually also is a point. I'm not sure if the point was included in the original set or if that was something that was added after. Obviously I purchased this at some point in my collecting. I'm not quite sure when, but probably somewhere around about, at least 25-30 years ago when I bought it. It's a little play worn in parts, but it's all there, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. So here we have the 4 major iterations of the Blue Pullman, starting with the original one, which was all blue and no painted ends, cab end. And then the next one we got was shortly after this one. The cab ends got painted by British Railways, and so at that point they changed the model to have the yellow painted cab end, although this one is quite a bright yellow. A year or so later, British Railways changed the complete color of the Blue Pullman to this, what they call the reverse blue. And so Hornby, they in turn came out with that version. And then a number of years later, they came out with this version, which is the blue and gray version. And I'm going to have to do a little research to understand where this livery fit in the lineup here of how these things worked. So once again, going to Pat Hammond's book, he mentions that the Blue Pullman had been a great success since its origin in 1963. Now, he says that the center cars were available in 2 numbers, either W60745 or 60747. Looking through mine, I don't see a 60745, but I will look again. Anyway, during 66 and 67, about 42,000 power cars were made, and a similar number of dummy ends. And all but 10,000 of these were sold in the RS552 train set, which we will look at again in a minute. A similar number of parlor cars were also made over this period. So obviously there were a tremendous number of these made. So the blue and white with the yellow front came out in 1968. And that I said earlier British Railways. Of course, by then it was British Rail, and so someone's probably going to tell me I was wrong there. So it was British Rail when they changed the cab by painting it yellow. About 22,000 of these were made with this finish, and 17,000 of those were sold in the set. The yellow-fronted blue set was made for only 1 year. 10,000 more parlor cars were also made that year, and the parlor cars didn't change. We'll look at that a little bit in a minute. So there was a variation where the roof was sprayed gray instead of silver, but I haven't seen one of those. The gray and blue was 1969, and the model remained in that color scheme until 1972, and that's when the last batch was made, sold as a train pack. They continued to carry the same numbers. About 7,800 of these final sets were made. The unit price was £4.9 6 when it appeared in that livery. And the fourth and final livery was released in 1970. And that was the blue and pale gray with the crests, as you can see here, heat printed in white on the sides of the unit. So these are the four main versions. Now, there were various different sub-versions within these, and I think it depended a lot on what was happening at the time. For example, I have seen this version with a silver painted boxes underneath. I've also seen it in black. I do have one of these as well, with the yellow spots on here and a couple of other minor differences. So we'll look at each set in turn. Now, this is probably going to be a series of videos, because for me to do all four variations on one video and see them all running is probably going to be too much. I also do have the newer Bachmann Blue Pullmans, both in the original Midland set, blue and white, and in the later reverse blue set. They're both 6-car units. Obviously, these were sold as a 3-car unit, but a lot of people bought multiple of the parlor cars, and there was even there's a kit out there to convert the parlor cars into kitchen cars too, which is what should have been in the full set. Anyway, we can look through each one of these, and I'll show you some of the differences as we go. As I said, I have a number of these in different variants. The only thing I don't have is I don't have any parlor cars in this particular livery. One thing I would like to do, and it's sort of been on my round to it list for a while, is to take a full set, and which would be 6 complete a front, a dummy, and 4 cars, and sort of restore it. I do have some Pullman transfers that I got from Fox, and so that's definitely on my to-do list, is to try to produce a fully restored 6-car set in the original Pullman livery. And hopefully nobody's going to get too upset with me if I do that, because there are so many of them around, and some of the cars that I picked up over the years are a little bit rough around the edges, a little plain worn, etc. So let's start by looking at the original sets. So as I said, this is the oldest that I have. It's a marked Triang Hornby, but if I actually look at the underside, you'll see it does say Triang, built in Britain. So it is, I think, a Triang set. The first thing you tend to notice with these is that when you look at the two different cars, the dummy one has a very different bogie, because the dummy bogies are the same at both ends, whereas the driving bogie here is considerably different, and also obviously the weight is greater on this one. But that is really the only difference between these two. I mean, otherwise they are pretty much identical. You'll see that the roof on both of them is identical. This part here is identical. There really is no difference between the two from that point of view. These are a little play worn, as most of these sets are, and in some situations, some of these transfers can get a little rough. These are actually pretty good on this one. If we look at the transfers on the fronts, again, those also seem to get damaged, but in this particular case, these are in pretty good shape. The other thing that seems to disappear a lot are the buffers, and you'll see as we go through some of my stuff that I do need some buffers on some of them. But and this is very, very light. Some of the ones that I have, people at some point have added weight in to the dummy car because it is so light. So I have another one. Somebody wrote for layout on this. Interesting, this one says now in new BR livery. It also has the RS52 sticker here, and on the other side it has the price at £3 8 shillings. So this is a slightly newer one. So I say slightly newer, I think it's still probably 60s. But yes, I'm sure it's 60s. It has a plastic box now, you'll see. And even though on the box it did say new BR livery, this is the identical livery. Really hasn't changed very much at all in terms of the livery. Looking at the track that's in here, there's obviously just enough for an oval here. There's 4 straights. There is no point in this one. So the point in the other one might have been an addition. I'm not 100% sure. So looking in Pat Hammond's book here, we can see that this set did not have a point in it. And according to the set, RS52, the Blue Pullman set, came in a small box with an attractively illustrated lid depicting the prototype. And the set consisted of the Blue Pullman DMU, the parlor car, 8 double curves and 4 straights. So that point in that other box was an addition. The blue plastic is a definite, hang on, let me make sure you can see this. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. I think it is. You see, the blue plastic is a different color. And quite why, I don't know. All I can think of is there's a different batch, and so the plastic color is either different or it's worn differently over time. Interestingly, there is no number on this central car either. So I think we'll see later that the central cars are numbered. This one's not. This is the other set that I have. Now everything else I have is unboxed, and it's just stuff that I've picked up over time. So let's look at an unboxed version of the original. So this is my unboxed version of the original, and it's interesting because the power car has been doctored. When we look at the wheels on the other ones, they're knurled. They're not bright like these. Somebody has some point changed these wheels. They've also added pickups on the trailing bogie and put new wheels in there too. So this one has been changed a little. I'm sure it probably helps it to run better. We can probably find that when we actually go to try to run these. As you can see, the other bogies are still the original plastic wheels, not metal. And but otherwise, really nothing much that different. This is dirty. It is play worn. I probably could try to clean that up. I don't know whether to do that or not. As I say, at some point I do want to try to restore, which will include repainting the roof silver and fixing the paint on the in other places where it may be not so good. We start to look at the center parlor cars. Not much changed with these. This one does have the number on it. Hopefully you can see that. This one doesn't have a number. There's no number either side of this one. Interestingly, the numbers on this side and on that side. So this one does have a number on both sides. I've seen some where the number is only on one side, which is what I thought I might have been going to see there. But anyway, I'll have a look through some of the other parlor cars and see if I have something like that. Generally speaking, this parlor car didn't change very much throughout its time, apart from the livery changing. But that's pretty much it. As you can see, this one, the roof is in pretty bad shape. I think these were probably well played with, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I discovered I have parlor cars with different numbers. This one, if we can get it to focus ever, we go, is 60747, 60745. So the next iteration didn't really change anything very much apart from painting the nose. No transfer anymore on the nose. And the thing that I find interesting is, even though this one is missing buffers, the yellow on this is actually very different to the yellow on this one, which I think is probably a closer color to what the yellow should be. It should be more that mustard yellow color. I don't know if the camera can really notice the difference between these two yellows, but I certainly can. Now, to go back to the wheels again, so this would have been the more original style of, as I say, what I'd call the gnarled wheels. That have obviously been replaced on the previous one that we looked at. But nothing else has really changed. I mean, they're pretty much identical. They did have these seats in them with the lamps, which are nice, as you can probably see there. If I pull a coach out in there, the seats and the lamps on the tables, which was definitely a nice touch back whenever. Okay, let's get some of these running. So thanks for watching this first part of a multi-part series I'm going to do on the Blue Pullmans. In the next piece, we will actually open a couple of these up, lubricate them, and see if we can get them running. So look forward to doing that. In between time, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. There's another video to the top left, and you can subscribe with the button to the top right.